Good morning everyone, happy Sunday. So today is the first day of my course to do microblading. So we've done powder shading, we've done lip blush, and we've done machine hair strokes. This is the last piece of the puzzle. Hopefully one day I hope to move on to eyeliner. I would love to do hairline. I would love to do areola restoration. I have about 15 minutes and I thought I'll just have a quick catch up with you all. As I said, I will make a video and talk about my experience dating again as a mum, as someone who's divorced. Like I said, I am only speaking from my experience because everyone's different. I only share some of the concerns that I had, things that were important to me that still are. I even spoken to RG about this yesterday, just if there's anything that he can share, because obviously I'm the only person he's dated who happens to be a mummy. I met RG through a dating website called Bumble. I know there's Tinder and there's all these other apps like Hinged, or I was only on Bumble, and what made me go for Bumble is once you match with someone, right, and you swipe right to them and they swipe right to you, only the female can reach out. So I was gravitated towards Bumble because I liked that I can filter out. In a lot of sense, I felt empowered doing so, but I can understand, a lot of people prefer being approached, but for me, it was not the case. I remember when I wrote my profile, it's very important for me to really put out there, my mom, I stated I have 2 kids. I just wanted to put out there, I'm proud of my kids, I love them, but the truth of the matter is my attention will be divided, and I want people to know that. So I think my profile was very honest. In the profile, you fill out little things about yourself, your height, 4'10", job. I just wrote beauty industry, quite active at the gym, Sagittarius. My experience with Bumble obviously has been very positive, and Archie was one of the first few that I really spoke to. There was another 2 main guys I spoke to. One was a fellow daddy, and he had an 8-year-old son, and he was a really sweet man. I felt like there wasn't really chemistry from my side anyway. And then there was another guy who actually is a trainer. I know this is funny because as soon as I saw topless pics, it doesn't matter how good the body is, the judgmental part of my brain thought, and I'd swipe away. But there was this guy, fantastic shape. He's also a daddy. I would call him like a DILF, and he has a gorgeous, well, she must be like 19-year-old now, but at the time she was 17, and totally dedicated to his daughter. And he was a really, really nice guy too, but it's just, again, chemistry wasn't quite there. And it's interesting how things go. The other 2 guys I've probably spoken with longer, but with RG, I think on the 5th day we started talking. We just had a really good feeling and we wanted to meet each other. What was really nice about RG was he was actually the one that, even though he suggested to date, he didn't just say, when are you free? He actually said, when are you a bit more free, or are you busy with the kids? So that was really thoughtful. There's something about him, his smile, just the way that he was. He had a very safe and very down-to-earth vibes. Of course, we met up in somewhere public, in a cafe. And I remember that day I wore a white t-shirt and a beige woolly skirt, and I just kept it casual. I wasn't nervous or anything, even though he was my first date. I was looking forward to meet him, but I just had a really good feeling about him. That night we just clicked. Even though I wouldn't say we have very much in common at all, we're very different, but we just clicked. He was very interested and he was asking about the kids. I did answer, and I did say, yes, I do love my kids very much. Before he even finished, he said they should be your #1 priority, and he says if they weren't, I would be offended. Now, 2 years later, he still keeps by that. In fact, when I talked to him yesterday and I said, what advice would you give, he said, and this is not to sound mean, he said, if you're with a mom, you have to not be needy. And I think when he says needy, he means you can't be too codependent, because, you have to understand that this mother is very needed by her children. Her children will be first. So he was always prepared for that. He knew attention will be divided. Obviously, it's going to be different dating someone who is a mom and someone who is not a mom. When you don't have children, you can just, if you want to go out, you just leave, right? But as a mom, you can't just do that. So there is only a really small section of the week that we could really be together. Some of you guys asked if Archie and I ever want kids. He doesn't want children. So that was great for me because I knew that I only wanted Isaac and Ayla to be my only children. 2 years, excuse me, for him to, I guess, reassure me that even though he doesn't want children of his own, it doesn't mean he's not good with other people's children and he doesn't care for them. Also, me talking to Kyle, you guys know my fitness trainer Kyle, I remember asking him, this is before I was even out there, like, dating Archie. I was asking him his experience, if he's ever dated moms out there, and I remember Kyle saying, yeah, like, he absolutely loved it. He's not speaking for all moms, but basically he said that, like, generally they have their shit together. They know what they want. They're very selfless. So another thing that Archie said, and something that Kyle has said before, when we talked about pros and cons, Archie actually never mentioned a con. He said not once did he ever think, I don't want Isaac and Ayla to be here, but he did say pros are, you know, children are a lot of fun. Kyle's con was when you break up with the girlfriend, you have to break up with the kid, and that can be very hard. I'm gonna make my way to my course now, but we will finish this, I promise, when I get back to the hotel, okay? Hello everyone, I just got to my hotel. I'm gonna wash up, put my jammies on. So back to what we were talking about before. So I asked you guys to send in some questions, so it's easier for me sometimes. Like, yes, I can share my experience, but there's also a lot that maybe I'm not thinking of. So how is your partner with your kids? He's actually pretty good with them. I mentioned before, when I first started dating Archie, I didn't realize it, but I compartmentalized Lindy and being a mom. And I think I did that was because it was just much more simple when it's just I'm Lindy. But, you know, in terms of a mom, I was a lot more protective. So in earlier days, when he would ask about the kids, I didn't know that, but I was actually very vague about it. And it took, you know, being together longer and gradually trusting him more and more and more. It definitely took time to break down my barriers, to trust another being with my children. But yeah, he's really good with them. Besides overcoming the past and fears, what's the hardest part of dating as a mother? So I would say the next hardest thing would probably be just finding time for myself. Being a mom itself is busy, but then, like, after I became a co-parent, like, the only free time I had was basically when they were off to their daddy. And in that time, there's a lot of catch-up going on. I get what people mean when they say, oh, I'm too busy for a relationship, because you have to make time, right? Did you have a list of qualities you were looking for in a significant other? Honestly, just someone who's down to earth, someone that makes me laugh, someone that just appreciates the little things, just someone that's got a good heart. How did you get past the feeling of betrayal if you felt that way for starting to date? Just because you had a bad experience with someone doesn't mean that the next person you come along with, the next one would just be the same way. I was very aware that after my marriage ended, I had a lot I knew I had to work on myself, and that was my responsibility. I knew it would be unfair for me to project my fears onto the next person. You don't want to bleed on someone else, right? You know, sometimes we all have issues, and it's okay, we can work on it, but we shouldn't punish other people for it. Also hard for me was that when I first met Archie, this was when I was feeling very empowered, very liberated. And then my PTSD started to rear its head, probably about 6 or 7 months in, and this is when I suddenly felt really vulnerable. And, you know, trauma does all stuff to you, and even though I would say it loud to someone, you know, you're worthy of love, and I meant every single word of it. But when it came to myself and I knew I wasn't functioning or feeling my best, I felt like I was undeserving of it, and there were times where I actually did try to push him away. I didn't want to drown him with my sadness. For that 1.5 years onwards, I was just constantly crying on and off because I had a lot of unresolved trauma. I really felt he deserved someone who could give him more time, someone who isn't sad all the time. But you know, he stayed. What I've learned is, I think there is an argument with this. Some people say there's no such thing as wrong timing, only wrong person. If it's the right person, there will be no such thing as wrong timing. If it's the right person and he cares for you, they stay. How did you explain your divorce to your kids? This is a tough one, and thankfully it's something that I have not had to explain yet. When my ex-husband and I divorced, the kids were still very young. Isaac was only 5 and Ayla was 2. What's amazing, but also kind of sad, is that, you know, even Isaac, he doesn't even have that many recollection of my ex-husband ever living in the house. And I think it helped because their daddy was often out of the country, so in a lot of ways they were used to it too. I'm not saying he was gone all the time, but I think that played a part. I have explained that, you know, mommy and daddy used to be married. When they get older, they're gonna have more questions, so I'm prepared for that. A lot of these questions are about trust, you know, how did you learn to trust someone with your heart? Sometimes it's more about trusting yourself that you will have boundaries, that you will look out for red flags and you won't ignore them. I think since my love language is words of affirmation, like I need to be reassured with words, but then I've realized that words without action is just manipulation. So, you know, your actions can show you so much, because actions show you a lot. Time will eventually reveal everything. What's the relationship between your kid's father and Archie? So this one comes quite a lot. They don't bump into each other a lot, but when they do see each other, they're always like, oh hi, and they shake hands. Did you worry people would only see you as a mum rather than seeing who you are as well? It's funny because I felt like that was how my ex used to just see me. Even when the kids are around, I can still see, like, Archie just sees me as Lindy. Do you receive any criticism from your family or ex's family for dating? No, I mean, like, why would I? Were you worried someone may want you but not your kids? No, because if they didn't know that the kids come as part of the package, we don't want them either. Did your children that give you a hard time? Mine would make me feel guilty for moving on. Not at all. How do you balance your time? So I talked about this earlier. It can be hard. I think it helps that we only see each other on the weekends, because I can still be Lindy, I can be mummy, and I can also spend time with him. Good morning everyone, I'm ready for another day of training. I thought I'll wake up because, you know, maybe due to time difference, some of you guys can get a chance to ask. How does dating differ to when you dated as a teen? Did it move quicker? Actually, it's funny because I think, you know, when you're a teenager, first love, you kind of like dive into it nose deep. You don't really have any experience prior. You know, when my ex-husband and I, we were together when we were really young. Like I was 16 years old. And, you know, it was actually really great. I don't think we ever really fully codepended on each other. But I know it could happen, but I think it was very like head over heels. Now that I'm 35, I think, you know, whether I'm a mom or not, I know a lot more on what I want, not just for myself, but in another person. I'm not as naive. Since I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin now, I'm not as insecure as I was as a teen. I don't feel the need to like always be on the phone and talking to them. Like, we text here and there during the day, but we know like he has his life and I have my life, and near the end we just chat about our day. I look forward to seeing RG during the week. I miss him during the week, but it's not like, oh, I miss you so much, you know, I can't do anything. It's like a slow burning love, kind of like making beef brisket. How do you feel about the kids' dad dating, if he is, and them spending time with the partners? That's not up to me to say anything, whether he is or not. Say he is, say he isn't, like both is fine. As long as he is happy, then happy daddy, happy kids. Guys, I'm gonna go grab some breakfast downstairs and take off for my course. I'm currently just driving back. Dating can be a lot of work, so I think you have to like emotionally be in that place. How they treat you, remember, especially when you're dating someone, is more important than how much you like them. Don't just stay with someone for the sake of it, just so you have somebody. Yesterday I was chatting in the car and my battery suddenly died. I wanted to say that already as a mom or not, you know, your time is precious, and the older you get, the more responsibilities you have to juggle. So if you're gonna be with someone, you make sure that they're worth your time. And I also wanted to say that don't feel like you have to be in a relationship. If you are not ready to open your heart yet, that is okay. If you're enjoying being by yourself, that is okay. These days, people think when it comes to celebrating, it's engagements, having a baby, getting married. Like, those are all wonderful, but there are other amazing things that you can celebrate in life. A job promotion, getting out of a toxic relationship, deciding to get therapy for yourself. Don't feel like you need to fall into society's norms or be pressured. If you are not ready to be in a relationship, that is fine. A lot of you guys wanted this video on the topic of dating or finding love as a divorced mother. And you know, at the beginning I was like, oh, I don't really like to put the emphasis on the labels, but there's nothing wrong with being a divorcee or a mother. Just because you're a divorcee doesn't mean you failed. It takes a lot of strength to leave a relationship that is no longer serving. Of course, I don't need to stress just how amazing it is to be a mother. It's okay to be those things. Those things don't define you. They help to make you who you are. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will talk to you very, very soon.